Major championship winners getting permanently kicked out of professional golf, incredible talents who peaked in a single brief moment. These are the 10 golfers who absolutely destroyed their own careers. Imagine watching a former Open Championship winner who once had putting skills so perfect that tour pros would analyze his technique, now blasting a 92 in a major and shredding his scorecard before walking away forever. That nightmare actually happened to Ian Baker-Finch, and it represents one of golf's most devastating mental breakdowns ever witnessed. Ian Baker-Finch dominated the 1991 Open Championship at Royal Birkdale, closing with a spectacular 66 that made winning look effortless. And this wasn't some fluke victory by an unknown player, because Baker-Finch possessed putting techniques so flawless that professionals would study video footage trying to decode his methods. Multiple major victories seemed guaranteed in his future. That's when his mental game completely imploded. And what followed became golf's most horrifying confidence destruction. Starting in 1995 and continuing through 1996, Baker-Finch attempted to compete in 29 different PGA Tour tournaments, thinking he could battle through whatever psychological demons were attacking his game, but the results were absolutely catastrophic. Weekend competition became impossible as he failed to survive a single cut, either missing entirely, withdrawing during rounds when the pressure became unbearable, or getting disqualified for various reasons. 29 professional attempts, 0 successful finishes. This transcends typical rough patches because this was psychological warfare happening in front of spectators. His complete breakdown reached its devastating peak at the 1997 Open Championship at Troon, where he'd once captured glory, and the opening round told the entire story, 92 strokes. Recreational golfers might struggle to break 90 on their worst days, which shows how shocking that score was for a former major champion. Baker-Finch ripped his scorecard apart in pure rage and abandoned competitive golf permanently. The most heartbreaking detail shows how thoroughly his confidence had been destroyed. Baker-Finch later confessed he would deliberately aim 40 yards left of his intended target, knowing his ball would slice wildly to the right. Picture a former major champion who couldn't trust his own swing enough to aim where he actually wanted the ball to go. Championship brilliance transformed into complete mental destruction. Tommy Two Gloves Gainey represented everything fans adored about underdog success stories. A blue-collar construction worker who taught himself golf and earned his spot on professional tours through pure grit, and his nickname came from wearing gloves on both hands, making him instantly recognizable and beloved by working-class supporters who saw their own struggles reflected in his journey. Gainey's breakthrough victory at the 2012 McGladrey Classic proved that blue-collar dreams could become reality on golf's biggest stage, and his homemade swing technique, combined with an authentic personality, made him the perfect everyman hero that television networks loved featuring in human interest segments. 2019 arrived with the arrest photo that completely obliterated everything. Gainey got busted in a Florida prostitution sting operation with the absurdly named Operation Santa's Naughty List, and within hours his booking photograph was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, golf websites, sports blogs spreading like wildfire. Viral fame came faster than any golf shot he'd ever executed, but social media platforms exploded with jokes and ruthless memes instead of celebrating his athletic achievements. Authentic blue-collar success suddenly became a national punchline that everyone was sharing for laughs. Golf fans who had cheered his underdog story were now mocking his arrest photo. What made this mugshot catastrophe even worse was the terrible timing, because Gainey wasn't some washed-up former player when this happened, but was actively competing on the Korn Ferry Tour, working desperately to earn his way back to the PGA Tour. That arrest photo didn't just embarrass him personally, it permanently destroyed any chance of professional redemption. Golf's favorite underdog story transformed into a cautionary tale about how one viral arrest photo can obliterate years of sacrifice and determination. John Daly owned 2 major championships that redefined what seemed possible in professional golf. Drives so powerful they revolutionized distance concepts, and enough raw personality to transform every tournament into must-watch entertainment. But he spent 3 decades proving that incredible talent means absolutely nothing when you're completely determined to destroy yourself from within. Golf's ultimate rebel never just battled personal problems. Instead, he welcomed them, celebrated them, and allowed them to completely control every decision he made. Gambling addiction consumed every dollar he earned from tournament victories. Alcohol problems turned public appearances into disasters waiting to happen. Failed marriages became tabloid entertainment for the masses, and endless off-course chaos generated headlines for all the wrong reasons, while embarrassing sponsors who'd invested in his potential. $50 to $60 million vanished through compulsive gambling addiction. And one devastating statistic reveals John Daly's entire tragic story, because this wasn't about bad business investments or failed endorsement deals, but pure gambling destruction. Casino slot machines devoured his earnings faster than he could generate them, and blackjack tables became places where he'd blow entire tournament paychecks in single sessions. Despite capturing the 1991 PGA Championship as a complete unknown and winning the 1995 Open Championship when everyone thought he was finished, Daly managed only 5 total tour victories throughout his career. Someone with his extraordinary natural ability and massive fan following that generated television ratings deserved a much better legacy, but that's shockingly disappointing instead. Multiple suspensions, repeated fines, and constant public embarrassment became routine because he couldn't control his self-destructive impulses. Hall of Fame talent met zero personal discipline, and discipline destroyed talent every single time. The golf world proclaimed Michelle Wie a future superstar when she was barely 10 years old, creating expectations that would have crushed most adults before they ever competed professionally. And by age 15, she was attempting to compete against male professionals in PGA Tour events while carrying pressure so enormous it defied rational comprehension. Tiger Woods in heels became her media label, and outlets predicted she would single-handedly transform women's golf into mainstream entertainment that casual fans would actually watch. But those impossible predictions completely crushed what should have been a natural Hall of Fame development. Professional life began at 15 with multi-million-dollar endorsement contracts and media scrutiny so intense that every missed shot became front-page news analyzed by experts, and the pressure transcended simply playing good golf because she was expected to revolutionize an entire sport while navigating teenage challenges. 5 LPGA Tour victories and 1 major championship at the 2014 U.S. Women's Open represent her final career statistics, and when measured against those early predictions, they paint a bittersweet picture. Solid professional accomplishments feel tragically incomplete compared to the sustained dominance everyone anticipated. Reality makes her story even more heartbreaking because Wie's highest world ranking peaked at 4th place in 2015, and she spent most seasons ranked outside the top 10 globally. Enormous media attention and endorsement money flowed her way, but competitors like Inbee Park quietly captured 7 major championships during that same period. Chronic wrist injuries definitely contributed to her struggles, but the psychological damage ran much deeper than physical problems. Michelle Wie's career wasn't destroyed by scandal, addiction, or poor choices, but was ruined by being crowned too early and forced to carry adult expectations as a teenager. Jordan Spieth captured 3 major championships before celebrating his 24th birthday, maintained elite world ranking status for 8 consecutive seasons, and displayed pressure-handling abilities that intimidated seasoned veterans twice his age. But everything suggested he would dominate professional golf for the next decade minimum until something completely broke without warning. Practically Unbeatable describes how Spieth performed on golf's biggest stages between 2015 and 2017. Masters champion who made clutch putting look routine, US Open victor who thrived under intense pressure, Open Championship winner who appeared destined for sustained excellence that would define an era. Putting skills defied physics and seemed to bend balls toward holes through pure mental power. Calm confidence radiated from every shot, and years of future dominance seemed inevitable. Everything about his approach screamed future Hall of Famer who would collect majors like trophies, and that's what makes his collapse so baffling because nobody understands what happened or why. Putting magic that built his reputation vanished entirely like it had never existed, and iron play that was once a devastating weapon that could attack any pin position collapsed so catastrophically it became a liability, costing him shots every round. Statistical evidence becomes absolutely shocking when you examine the numbers. Spieth's approach shot performance measured negative 0.204 strokes gained, meaning he was actively hurting his scores compared to tour average instead of helping them, and that performance ranked 138th among players who make their living with those exact clubs. The most confusing aspect of his collapse involves driving distance because Spieth actually gained significant power off the tee during this period, improving substantially, but somehow transformed from elite iron player into someone performing below professional standards. Number 1 in 2015, barely inside the top 30 by his early 30s, and his world ranking crashed, tells the complete story. Stephen Bowditch possessed genuine PGA Tour talent and demonstrated it through 2 professional victories that proved he belonged among golf's elite competitors. But away from tournament competition, his personal life was disintegrating in ways that spectators and media couldn't observe from outside. Australian honesty about mental health battles throughout his professional career displayed remarkable transparency about struggles that most players hide completely from public view. But openness doesn't always prevent the downward spiral once psychological problems begin overwhelming someone's ability to cope with pressure. 2017 brought arrest on drunk driving charges that made headlines across golf media while he was still competing as an active tour player, attempting to maintain his career. And his mugshot became front-page news while the circumstances surrounding his arrest were deeply embarrassing. Everyone's private concerns about his off-course problems got confirmed in the most damaging way possible. What makes this story particularly tragic shows how quickly professional careers can collapse, because Bowditch had captured the 2014 Valero Texas Open, proving beyond doubt that he belonged among golf's elite and possessed the skills to compete successfully with anyone on tour. By 2017, just 3 years later, his playing ability was crumbling alongside his mental health and personal struggles. Tour privileges vanished shortly after the arrest incident, and he never managed to regain them despite multiple comeback attempts. Talent remained there, but personal demons had become too overwhelming to battle while simultaneously trying to compete at golf's highest level. Anthony Kim was being positioned as American golf's next superstar, fearless and aggressive beyond belief, a Ryder Cup star who approached competition with swagger and confidence that made even Tiger Woods seem conservative by comparison. And at just 23 years old, he'd already captured 3 tour victories while seeming absolutely destined for sustained greatness lasting decades. Complete disappearance from competitive golf for over a decade followed, and the real story behind what happened sounds like something from a financial thriller rather than professional sports. Kim didn't gradually fade away like players whose games slowly deteriorate over time, but essentially disappeared entirely from competitive golf around 2012, leaving fans confused and fellow professionals unusually quiet about what had really happened to one of the sport's brightest young stars. Official explanations focused on injuries that sounded devastating enough to end any career. Ruptured Achilles tendon requiring extensive surgery, multiple shoulder operations that limited his swing mechanics, hand complications affecting his grip, spinal problems making golf physically painful, and any single one of those injuries could derail a professional career permanently. Darker truths emerged years later that revealed what was really happening behind the scenes, because Kim eventually admitted he was simultaneously battling serious addiction issues and severe mental health struggles during those missing years. The fearless competitor who once challenged the world's best players and thrived under Ryder Cup pressure was fighting internal demons that nobody could observe or understand from outside. Insurance angles sound like pure conspiracy theory, but appear completely legitimate based on multiple credible reports, because Kim allegedly possessed a massive disability insurance policy rumored to be worth tens of millions that would only pay benefits if he completely stopped playing professional golf entirely. Consider that impossible calculation for any young athlete. Continue grinding through physical pain and psychological anguish for uncertain tour earnings that might never materialize, or walk away completely and collect a fortune that would provide financial security forever. Whatever special abilities he'd once possessed were completely gone when Kim finally attempted a comeback through LIV Golf years later. Yanni Cheng held the world #1 ranking for 109 consecutive weeks, captured 5 major championships before reaching her mid-20s, and displayed such complete dominance that women's golf appeared to have discovered its next decade-long superstar who would define the sport for years. But virtually overnight, everything collapsed with stunning speed that nobody can adequately explain. Golf's most shocking downfall occurred with devastating rapidity and thoroughness because this wasn't gradual decline happening over multiple seasons that players sometimes recover from, but pure freefall that seemed to happen in real time, untouchable and unbeatable one year, missing cuts and questioning every fundamental aspect of her game the following season. Confidence didn't slowly erode like most struggling players experienced during rough patches, but completely evaporated like it had never existed in the first place. Swing mechanics that had produced 5 major championship victories abandoned her entirely, and she transformed from fearless aggression that attacked every pin position to paralyzed hesitation over routine shots that recreational players make confidently. Tournament after tournament, she would arrive looking completely lost on golf courses, like someone who had forgotten how to play competitive golf entirely, and the mental game that had once been her greatest strength became her biggest weakness. What makes this particularly heartbreaking involves understanding the pressure she carried, because Tseng had been shouldering intense expectations and national pride since her teenage years, representing an entire country's hopes and dreams in women's professional golf. Complete burnout and mental exhaustion destroyed her from within, eating away at her confidence until nothing remained, and many experts believe this explains her collapse. The same spotlight that helped build her career and made her internationally famous eventually consumed her completely. Numerous comeback attempts over the years and multiple swing changes with different instructors never helped her rediscover that unstoppable form that had made her the world's best player. Angel Cabrera owned 2 major championship victories at the 2007 US Open and 2009 Masters, plus a fearless attacking style that made him one of Argentina's biggest athletic heroes and beloved by golf fans worldwide. And supporters adored his relaxed personality combined with an aggressive approach to pressure shots that defined crucial moments. Horrifying truths emerged about his personal life that destroyed absolutely everything he built as a celebrated athlete. Losing golf skills or struggling with swing mechanics had nothing to do with Cabrera's destruction, which was about losing basic human decency and becoming a violent criminal who caused real harm to innocent people. smiling public image that fans saw during tournament coverage masked someone whose private behavior was spiraling into violence and criminal activity that would eventually result in prison sentences. Arrest and conviction for assaulting and threatening multiple former romantic partners revealed a sustained pattern of abuse that had been concealed for years while he enjoyed fame and fortune, and the charges were extremely serious, going far beyond simple relationship disputes. Domestic violence that caused physical injuries, intimidation that terrorized his victims, illegal imprisonment that amounted to kidnapping under Argentine law, and these weren't just accusations or rumors spread by tabloid media looking for sensational stories. Proven criminal acts resulted in actual jail time served in Argentina's prison system after thorough legal proceedings. Multiple women eventually came forward with similar experiences of abuse, revealing a clear pattern of violence that had been hidden for years. While he enjoyed celebrity status as a beloved sports figure, a national hero became a symbol of how fame and success can mask absolutely horrible behavior toward vulnerable people. Masters champion cannot be separated from convicted domestic abuser when watching old tournament footage, because those highlights have become unwatchable knowing what he was doing to women away from golf courses. Angel Cabrera didn't just ruin his own career and reputation, but destroyed innocent lives and caused lasting trauma that his victims will carry forever. Imagine earning a PGA Tour card, the dream every golfer chases, only to watch it dissolve into addiction. Not figuratively, but literally seeing millions of dollars vanish into cocaine and whatever substances could keep the high going. That was Willie Wilcox's reality, and unlike most athletes, he didn't sugarcoat it. He confronted the truth head-on. "I was a drug addict with a PGA Tour card." Many fallen pros blame injuries, pressure, or bad fortune when their careers collapse. Wilcox refused to hide behind excuses. His downfall wasn't mysterious or complicated. Chemical dependency consumed everything. It didn't just derail his progress, it swallowed his earnings, his opportunities, and the years that should have defined the height of his career. Tournament checks that could have built lifelong security disappeared as fast as they were deposited. Hotel rooms that should have been places to rest before big rounds turned into makeshift crash sites for drug binges. Practice sessions were abandoned because finding the next fix mattered more than sharpening his game. The talent was undeniably there, but addiction made consistency impossible. You can't maintain elite conditioning when your body is constantly fighting the damage you're inflicting on it, and eventually both his health and finances disintegrated together. Event after event, scores worsened, behavior unraveled, and soon his playing privileges were gone, along with the fortune he'd earned through years of grinding on developmental tours. What makes his story especially haunting is where addiction left him, carrying bags for other professionals, including Sung Jae Im, helping others live the very dream he lost to cocaine. There is redemption in his sobriety and steady work, but every step he takes inside the ropes is a reminder not of failure, but of what addiction stripped away at the exact moment he had everything he'd ever worked for. Patrick Reed possessed a Masters championship, displayed ice-cold nerves under extreme pressure, and built a reputation for delivering clutch performances when everything was on the line. Because he was the type of competitor who thrived in hostile environments and never backed down from confrontation or difficult situations. Cheating allegations captured on television cameras arrived, and suddenly Reed became professional golf's most despised figure practically overnight. Losing playing ability or struggling with technical aspects of his game had nothing to do with Reed's downfall, because his talent remained sharp throughout all the controversy and scandal while he could still execute incredible shots and contend in major championships when it mattered most. Reputation obliteration happened through a series of rules violations that destroyed his credibility forever. The infamous bunker incident at the 2019 Hero World Challenge triggered everything that followed, because television cameras clearly captured Reed improving his lie in the sand not once but twice before attempting his shot, giving himself an obvious advantage that violated basic rules of golf. Golf community outrage erupted when footage went viral across social media platforms, and what made everything infinitely worse was his pathetic denial and weak excuses afterward, claiming he didn't feel sand move beneath his club, despite crystal-clear video evidence showing exactly what happened. This wasn't an isolated incident that could be dismissed as an honest mistake under pressure either, because accusations of rule-bending and questionable behavior had followed him throughout his entire professional career like a dark cloud that never dissipated. Rules violations during his college career resulted in suspensions, questionable ball drops during professional tournaments raised eyebrows among competitors, and fellow professionals publicly questioned his integrity on multiple occasions during interviews and press conferences. Brooks Koepka made his contempt and disdain obvious whenever Reed's name came up in conversation, and Rory McIlroy addressed concerns about Reed's behavior directly when speaking with reporters about the sport's integrity. Respected competitor transformed into someone that everyone automatically assumed was bending rules for personal advantage, and fans turned completely against him with a level of viciousness rarely witnessed in professional golf. Tournament victories don't matter if nobody respects how you achieved those accomplishments. Patrick Reed learned that brutal lesson by becoming golf's permanent villain. David Duval reached world #1 ranking with 13 PGA Tour victories packed into just 4 explosive years, plus an Open Championship trophy that seemed to validate predictions about decades of dominance lying ahead. But then his body betrayed him while his mind followed, and what happened next defied all logical explanation. Duval's peak was absolutely breathtaking because between 1997 and 2001, he seemed nearly unstoppable on golf's biggest stages, and that iconic swing with the wraparound finish became his signature move while Oakley sunglasses made him instantly recognizable to fans worldwide. Golf's next long-term superstar appeared to be emerging, and he finished in the top 10 of the money list 4 consecutive years, while building what looked like an unstoppable career. 2001 brought his Open Championship victory at Royal Lytham, and that triumph seemed to confirm that sustained excellence would define his career for years to come. But after capturing that major championship, Duval never won another PGA Tour event again. Complete career collapse doesn't adequately describe what happened because he made just 7 cuts in 23 starts the following season. That's not a rough patch that players work through with better preparation and practice. That's a career ending in real time while everyone watched in disbelief. Injuries devastated every aspect of his game because back problems, wrist complications, and shoulder surgeries each chipped away at the precision his swing required, but physical pain alone doesn't explain the complete psychological collapse that followed his body's breakdown. World Ranking tells the most brutal story of his fall because Duval plummeted from first place to outside the top 200 between 2002 and 5, and his scoring average ballooned from someone who once averaged under 70 strokes per round to suddenly shooting over 72 consistently. Something broke mentally that doctors couldn't diagnose or fix. 2005 brought the final humiliation when he lost his tour card entirely, forcing him to rely on sponsor exemptions just to compete in tournaments where he'd once been the favorite to win. 4 years of brilliance followed by 20 years of struggling to remember what greatness felt like, and Duval's fall proves how quickly everything can disappear without warning. World #1 to Monday qualifiers represents a free fall with no parachute. For years, Tiger Woods looked untouchable. He wasn't just the best golfer alive. He was arguably the most dominant athlete in any sport, stacking 14 majors before his mid-30s and appearing destined to rewrite every record Jack Nicklaus ever set. Then came Thanksgiving weekend in 2009, the moment everything shattered. The greatest sports empire of the modern era unraveled in public view. A car crash, infidelity revelations, tabloid headlines, rehab admissions, and viral mugshots transformed Tiger overnight from global icon to scandal spectacle. Sponsors fled, his marriage fell apart, and the aura of invincibility that defined him evaporated. But the true tragedy wasn't only the scandal, it was the decade of greatness the world never got to see. Those should have been the years where he cruised to more majors and cemented himself as the undisputed greatest of all time. Instead, his body broke down alongside his public image. 4 back surgeries, reconstructed knees, nerve damage so severe that even walking was painful, let alone generating world-class power. Between 2014 and 2017, he fell outside the world's top 1,000 players, a decline so steep it hardly seemed believable for someone who once ruled the sport without challenge. Then came Augusta, 2019, a miracle comeback, his 5th Masters title, a storybook moment that felt like history correcting itself for one unforgettable Sunday. But even that incredible victory couldn't restore the lost years or the majors that slipped away during his physical and personal chaos. 15 majors instead of the 20-plus that once felt inevitable. That number isn't just a statistic, it represents what the world lost, the version of Tiger Woods who might have produced the greatest athletic run in human history. Tiger didn't only sabotage his own destiny, his spiral robbed fans of witnessing the full measure of what he could have become, turning an unmatched legacy into a stark reminder of how even the strongest icons can fall. These 10 cautionary tales prove that raw talent guarantees absolutely nothing in professional golf's unforgiving world. Because mental breakdowns, personal demons, criminal behavior, or simply crumbling under impossible expectations can destroy careers through countless different paths that all lead to the same devastating destination. Legitimate Hall of Fame ability belonged to some of these players, but they lacked the mental strength or personal character necessary to handle success and fame responsibly, while others got destroyed by circumstances that seemed completely beyond their control. Unrealistic expectations, devastating injuries, or psychological pressure that would break anyone subjected to that level of constant scrutiny. Most of these disasters were completely preventable with different choices at crucial moments, and that's the most tragic aspect about all these career destructions. Better support systems for mental health struggles, earlier intervention when problems first appeared, different decisions when temptation presented itself, and any of these could have changed everything while saving careers with unlimited potential. Golf becomes fascinating and terrifying simultaneously because you can possess all the talent in the world, but but without the complete package of mental toughness, personal discipline, good decision-making, and a little luck, even the greatest careers can crumble into absolutely nothing. Permanent reminders exist in these players that in professional golf, your most dangerous opponent usually isn't the competitor standing on the next tee waiting to play. The person staring back at you from the mirror every morning often becomes that opponent, and that enemy destroyed every single career on this devastating list.